This is Bob the Science Guy, and welcome back to part 3 of our 5-part episode on Eric Dubay and the projections of the flat Earth. Now, today we're going to have a look at the enemy of the flat Earth, according to Eric Dubay, the people behind this grand conspiracy. And he's suggesting it's the Masons. So let's go ahead and have a look at some of his reasoning and maybe ask a few key questions. So let's cue up the music and get going. Okay, so let's go ahead and have a look at this slide real quick. We'll just take kind of a little break from Eric's nonsense and go over the slide itself. So the first one is hide free energy. Okay, well, what free energy is that? Is that the Tesla free energy that you like to talk about? Well, what's the benefit of hiding free energy? It would help our society. So I don't really think that that's a legitimate reason, unless, first of all, you can demonstrate there's free energy out there. And second of all, that somebody's denying the existence of it or hiding it from us. Hide the creator. Well, we already talked about that. Hide your spirituality. Kind of goes with hide the creator. Hide more land. Well, what more land is there? We've already talked about the Bird quote where he says there's an area of unexplored land the size of the United States beyond the pole from Little America. And we've looked at the geography of Antarctica, and we know exactly what he's talking about. Hide scientific knowledge. Well, flat Earth is kind of the opposite of scientific knowledge. First, it's conspiratorial thinking. Second, it denies actual evidence, whereas science looks into evidence and accepts it for what it is. That's just kind of a silly objection. Hide what's in Antarctica. Well, mount an expedition, go down and look for it. You know, you can do that. Not a problem. It just takes money. Nobody is required to provide free transportation and research facilities for you because you have a silly theory. You can go write a grant. You can go request money from your government. You can be independently wealthy. See if Jeff Bezos wants to go ahead and fund your little knight's errand. Maybe he will. You never know. Hide the fact that you're at the center of the universe. Well, we're not at the center of the universe. We already know that. The universe has no center. And hide the fact that we are special. Well, we are kind of special to us, but we're not special in terms of the universe as a whole. We're one species on a small planet from a minor sun out at one arm of a galaxy amongst trillions of galaxies that are invisible, not to mention the ones that are beyond what we can see. You know, I have my little life here on Earth. I'm quite happy with that. It really doesn't matter to me what's going on in the galaxy Andromeda and the hundreds of species that may be there. Quite frankly, unless I get a radio message from them telling the people of Earth to submit to their authority, I really don't care what they do. And they don't really care what we do. So, big deal. But we'll go ahead and continue.
One of the biggest impediments to waking up is ego. And it is their ego that's chanting these, but why would they lie mantras? These, oh, you're a flat earther. You'll notice your more enlightened friends and family members, when you told them about it, didn't come at you with this kind of attitude and these dismissive questions. Your more open-minded friends and family members were probably curious and interested. And when they asked questions, they were good questions.
You know, I have to kind of respond to that. You know, we have family get-togethers all the time. If my son or one of my nephews came up to me and said, Bob, hey, guess what? I found out that the Earth is flat. I would be curious about that. I would be curious as to where our educational system went wrong with this person. I'd be curious as to where their parental guidance went wrong with them. The fact that the Earth is a sphere is simply not up to debate. Why is this person turning their back on reality? That's what I would be questioning. That's what I would be curious about. You know, the bottom line is that I wouldn't necessarily mock them. I would feel kind of sorry for them. and I'd want to see where they went wrong and maybe whether or not they were salvageable somehow. But let's go ahead and continue.
And when they asked questions, they were good questions, and they listened to the answers. And then you had productive conversations following them. This is a whole different thing than you get with these other people. And almost all people, when you ask them if they consider themselves to be open-minded, answer in the affirmative. So everyone likes to think of themselves as open-minded, but notice theirs and your reactions to certain things, and notice if you really are as open-minded as you think. The next anti-flat earth defense mechanism, aka insincere question, asked by these egoistic people is, how could they pull it off? Why are there no whistleblowers? You're telling me everyone that works at NASA is in on it and lying?
Well, actually, that is quite a legitimate question. I mean, there were 400,000 people, including my father, involved in the space program here in the United States alone. Plus, you look at the Soviet Union, you look at China, you look at India, you look at the European Space Agency. There are literally millions of people that are in positions to know the truth about the flat earth. Yet not one of them made a deathbed confession. Not one of them wrote a best-selling book. Not one of them appeared before Congress or Parliament or the Supreme Soviet to talk about this and what was going on. You know, that's simply not believable, because that is not only statistically impossible, it completely goes against human nature. You know, look at the things that we haven't been able to keep secret. The Vietnam War, the Pentagon Papers came out, Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, Watergate. None of these things could be kept secret. And yet they think that an engineering feat such as landing on the moon somehow had a deep secret that all of these people managed to keep. Just doesn't make any sense, my friends. None whatsoever.
You're telling me everyone in every space agency around the world, every teacher, every astrophysicist, every scientist is in on the lie? Again, as you can tell from the attitude, from the way they asked the question, it's not a real question, but a defense mechanism. And again, people who actually ask this question genuinely can and will find the answer. For example, most people, scientists, teachers, even people within NASA and other space agencies, are just duped like everyone else. And they're compartmentalized in a hierarchy of need-to-know basis. So the only people that are actually in the know are the acternauts and the very highest higher-ups in these organizations.
Except that's not really true, is it? Because any amateur astronomer with a telescope in a backyard and a clear view of the sky can see the ISS go overhead. We can see satellites. We can photograph them. I've done it myself. All you need is the right equipment, and the equipment doesn't cost very much, and the knowledge of where to look. And that's readily available to any of us. Now, you have to think about the history of space exploration in the world. For example, some of the first photographs of the lunar surface came back from a Russian probe. Those signals were intercepted by some amateur radio astronomers in the United Kingdom who not only decoded them, but released the pictures before the Soviet government did. The idea that this is so compartmentalized and need to know, and the product of some secret, multinational intergovernmental conspiracy, is absurd on its face. We can't keep secrets like that, not with that many people involved. It just can't be done. And your failure to recognize that is not on us. That's on you. That's your inadequacy. Stop projecting it onto us.
And again, what these scoffing people have never researched, don't understand or realize, are things like Freemasonry, the prevalence and potency of secret societies in the world. They don't realize that literally all of the astronauts were members of this largest and oldest secret society in the world, and their members are blood oath bound sworn to secrecy. So why are there no whistleblowers? Research Freemasonry, secret societies, blood oaths, and why these people would never and could never blow the whistle.
Now, the other thing is simply saying that all of the astronauts were Freemasons and all of the people at NASA were Freemasons doesn't mean that they really are. So, for example, was Neil Armstrong a Freemason? I think Buzz Aldrin may have been one, but I'm not sure. I know that they like to point to a ring on his hand as a Freemason ring of some sort, when in reality it's his class ring from the Air Force Academy. Never let the facts get in the way of a good story is what I always say. And the flat earth itself is a pretty good story that seems to be immune to facts because they simply don't want to accept any of them.
The people condescendingly asking these questions, they don't care. They're not asking the question for you to give them an answer. They're asking you the question to shut you up and to laugh at you. So what is the actual effective way of dealing with these people? I've tried giving genuine answers to them, spending your time and energy and patience, eating your pride to allow them to talk to you condescendingly while you still sincerely try to give them answers, because the only reason you were talking to them about this in the first place is because you genuinely want to help and inform them. But all they see is an opportunity to laugh, condescend, and boost their own egos by stomping on yours. Now, it's not our duty, nor is it even that effective, to allow them to do this. And it may sound harsh or crass or ineffective to those who haven't experienced this to the degree someone like myself has. But I'll give you my advice. When someone comes at you with this attitude, give it right back to them. Don't waste your time, energy, and patience trying to be sincere to someone who just wants to condescend and laugh at you. Laugh right back at them for their stupid belief in a wobbling, spinning, tilting space testicle in an infinite vacuum with bendy oceans and upside-down people in Australia.
Oh, dear Lord. You know, what is Eric Dubay's fixation on testicles? You know, they're not really all that exciting. I don't see why he seems to like them. As far as the rest of this stuff, this is a classic example of trying to put something out in an absurd light to try and make fun of it without actually putting out any evidence to the contrary. We do live on a spinning Earth. It's spherical. It's covered with oceans, which are curved with the surface of the Earth and surrounded by an atmosphere, beyond which is space. And we've been to all of these locations. So go ahead and present some evidence. Don't just try and mock it by saying it in a funny voice and using bizarre, insulting terms. So let's go ahead and continue and see what other interesting turns of phrases Eric Dubay can use.
Laugh at them for thinking they can dig a hole to China and find more sky below them. Roll your eyes and tell them, okay, then enjoy spinning on your wobbling space ball, genius. By refusing to engage with them and taking their ego down a notch like this, you're actually helping plant a seed that will make them genuinely more interested next time.
Well, first of all, reality isn't a matter of ego. It's a matter of measurements, data, and facts. And second of all, no, it's not going to generate a seed of interest. It's just as foolish after you finish talking as it was before you started talking. And quite frankly, even though you say that we're amused, we're actually a little saddened at the failures of society manifested by your belief in the flat earth.
And when you withhold information from them because of their bad attitude, that's the negative reinforcement people like this need. You know, your good friends who didn't laugh at you and condescend you, you were able to give them positive reinforcement. Use your time, energy, and patience to explain things to them. But when people use these anti-flat earth defense mechanism questions and give you an attitude, don't even bother answering these people. Just plant the seed and walk away. Come back to water it another day. Or let somebody else water it along the way. It's not your responsibility to hold these people's hand. Just plant your seed and go on to more fertile ground. Because even if you do answer their question, then they'll just ask you the next defense mechanism query.
No, actually, the problem that you have is that if you do answer our questions, we'll falsify it. We'll demonstrate facts and give evidence to show that your assertion is wrong. And then where are you going to be? That's another hit on your narrative, and that's not something that people on the flat earth can stand. They have to support their narrative, and the best way to support their narrative is make it untestable. Don't make any claims that can be tested or falsified. And that's their entire mechanism. That's why we ask you basic questions. It's the Socratic method. What I do have a problem with is you denying facts. Because if you deny facts, I realize you're not interested in learning anything or seeing the truth. You're supporting a narrative. I don't like people that have narratives that they follow. You know, with every good conspiracy, you have to have a common enemy, somebody that's behind the conspiracy. In this episode, Eric Dubay talked about the Masons as a possible candidate for that group. In other times, he's talked about NASA, he's talked about the Illuminati. You know, he's talked about religious groups. So rather than go into those other groups, we're just using the Masons as an example. And I hope that we were able to have a decent discussion of that in this episode. Now, in our next episode, we go on to his next quote-unquote globe earth defense mechanism. And that is our asking them basic questions on their model of the flat earth. How would they explain this, or how would they explain that? And we'll see how he feels that this is some sort of a random defense mechanism that those of us in science actually use, rather than the Socratic method or a genuine inquiry into their model to try and get a better handle on it, or to try and falsify it or test it in some way. So hit that like and subscribe on your way out, and make sure you tune in for our next episode. This is Bob the Science Guy signing out from Northern Michigan. Thank you again for your support of the channel, and I'll see you next week.
Mama, please make them hear me, or I can't teach them anymore. This rabbit hole's too deep for me. Feel my brain getting real sore. Bob the Science Guy. Bob the Science Guy.